Last thing I want to talk about tonight, we've got Super League conversation here, and it's not the Super League that you and I are used to talking about. This is not run by, College Sports Tomorrow? Is that the group that was doing one of those Super Leagues? This is not Project Rudy. This is not any of that. This is one college basketball coach speaking off the cuff and giving us an idea for a new Super League that, frankly, I don't think anybody here has really given any thought to. This one kind of blew me away. And it did make me sad. It made me sad in a way. Some of these comments that we got from one Rick Pitino, who is doing a very good job as the head coach at St. John's. They are not in the ACC, but obviously play in the Big East. And he's a Big East guy, has love for the conference. I understand that. And is trying to do right by his conference and get them into the best position possible. But here is what Rick Pitino had to say. And he said this to Coach K, apparently, on a podcast. He said, I've been trying to get them. And obviously, I jumped on your bandwagon with the suggestion that you had about coming with the ACC, because I've been trying to get them to start a Super League, basketball league, and get up to 18 teams or 16 teams, Pitino said. 11 is just not enough. And right now, a little bit like the ACC, we're not typical of the Big East of the past that's getting 8, 9, or 10 teams in the NCAA tournament. So I think we're missing the boat if we don't expand. I guess Coach K has been advocating for this too, like an ACC-Big East Super League. I will applaud the creativity here for one. Okay. It's not an easy environment there if you're not a Power 2 league. I will applaud the creativity, trying to do whatever it is that you can to do the best for your conference. I can't hate on that, because I have said here multiple times, not a lot, but some of the Brett Yormark ideas that at least get floated, people are not crazy about. Like, what are you doing? And I always say, you guys are probably sick of hearing me say it by this point, but I always say, hey, you can't do things the traditional way. You can't. Rivalry week was the last time I said it. Big 12 doesn't really have a rivalry week. They moved the Holy War. I guess not that it was in rivalry week this past year either, but you're not putting your best rivalry in rivalry week. And I said, guys, you gotta find different ways to milk as much value as you can out of things. You can't beat the SEC and Big Ten at their own game. So you got to get creative and try and do it a little bit differently. If that means taking a chance that you get more exposure for the Holy War than you would on rivalry week, then so be it. You got to try and do stuff like that. So if the ACC is going to try and do stuff like that, or really here it's the Big East, because the Big East is the league that I think would benefit a little bit more from this, then hey, I'm here for listening to it. It also, I think shows like, hey, the rest of the world is kind of waking up to this idea that Brett Yormark seemingly was kind of leading the charge on, like, hey, are we undervaluing basketball? Like, how much value could basketball really actually have here? Because it might be more than we're giving it credit for, at least in terms of a monetary sense, like what the dollar value potential is there in hoops. Because Pitino's looking around and saying, hey, man, we need to get stronger as a league. This can be better for all of us. Now, I know he's saying in the NCAA tournament, well, for one, getting more teams in the tournament, having more teams advance in the tournament, that's going to earn you more money. So that is one way to get more money. And just more exposure, bigger brands, better teams all together under one roof, obviously is going to be better for a TV contract for you. All roads lead to money. And Brett Yormark seemingly is a real trend center with this, because I feel like I get more and more in the way of just vibes from everybody out there in the college athletic world that seems to be looking into this and being like, hey, that actually, yeah, that does seem like a good idea. Point 3 here is I do kind of wonder, I'm like, I know Pitino said, hey, basketball only. I mean, can the ACC do that? Can you have just a basketball only Super League and not football? Like, it's my other question. Like, is Pitino just, we're talking about how realistic this would be, just completely sideswiping the massive obstacle that like the ACC playing football would be here. I don't know exactly how that would work. And Pitino is a basketball coach. Clearly, he's only focused on that. He's a Big East basketball guy, misses the tradition of when the Big East was king of the college basketball world. So I guess I get it. But I don't know, just a little. I'm a little puzzled by that. I would love, at least I'll put it this way, I would love more of an explanation by Rick Pitino on what exactly the plan would be for that. But the biggest thing, man, and I got to be honest about this, I hate that we're having to say, hey, a league of 11 teams is just not enough. Like Rick Pitino is sitting there saying, like, a league of 11 teams is just not enough. We've kind of jumped the shark, man. I was recording something with my guy Kuz from Kuz's Corner. You should go check out his channel. And we had this brief conversation at the end where it was like, we're talking about getting used to the new schedules. And I was like, because when is that? K-State's not playing West Virginia this year. When's the next time that'll happen? And we were both just kind of like, this, it really is ridiculous. Like, we're playing with these 16 and 18 team conferences. It's ridiculous. Teams all over the place. What makes sense is to have the smaller conferences that make geographic sense. The Big East being an 11 team conference, like, Rick, that's what it should be. You guys are doing it the right way. Like, let's not get that twisted. That is what it should be. We do not need these big, massive, crazy, bloated conferences. Like, can we all go back to 11 and conferences that make more sense? Like the suggestion that, for instance, like Josh Pate was talking about the other day that I brought up on the channel. Like, let's get back to that instead of what you're advocating for here, which is like, hey, we need to get bigger. We need to get bigger. That's what we got to do, because every other conference out there is really, really big. I guess there was another part of this quote I didn't read you from Pitino. Now, most of the presidents, probably including mine, who's a very knowledgeable basketball fan, they think about money. They think about the bottom line. It's like a company like Uber starting out and they're losing $500 million a year, but they understand 10 years down the road, they're going to be making $1 billion. We just can't see that. All right. So Rick Pitino thinks, I told you, everybody's jumping on board with Yormark's idea. Pitino thinks beefing up into forming a basketball super league is a potential $1 billion idea, but they just can't take losing $500 million for a little while to make it happen. Okay. I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea to try and make more money from your basketball deal. I don't know that it's a $1 billion idea, especially in that context. I don't know if it's Uber, but that, I feel like, drives home the point that I was saying about Yormark seem to be onto something here. Yeah, I mean, this last part of the quote, wow. Pitino says, I wish they would add Dayton, Memphis, and combine with the ACC and just have a super league. Pitino wants Dayton, Memphis, and the entire ACC to have a super league in basketball. Do you want the entire ACC, Rick? Because right now that'd be adding a lot of crap at the bottom of the conference. I don't know if Rick's been paying much attention to what the ACC basketball season has looked like. You'd be adding a lot of stuff, kind of dragging you down at the bottom of the conference. Anyway, there's Rick Pitino's Super League proposal. See if it ever comes to fruition. ACC-Big East. We've come a long way since the days of the Alliance, where it was ACC, Big 10, Pac-12. Now we're talking ACC, Big East.